A warm and pleasant good morning to all my dear students. I hope you all are ready for your English class. Students, today we will start chapter 17 from grammar, active and passive voice. I hope tenses are very much clear to you because active and passive voice is based on tenses. If tenses are clear to you, then you will be easily able to understand the concept of active and passive voice. So I'm giving you 2 minutes. Get ready with your English grammar book. Active and passive voice. Before starting up with this, you know about transitive verbs. Verbs are the action words, and you know what is a transitive verb. The verb which requires an object to complete the meaning of the sentence. That verb is called as transitive verb. Now transitive verb has two voices. First is active voice and second is passive voice. Voices, they show whether the subject of the verb is the doer or acted upon. It means whether the subject of the verb is doing some action or action has been done upon the subject, or it is the receiver of action. So active and passive voice. Active voice is that voice. It is called active when the subject of the verb is the doer of the action. Means when the action has been performed by the subject of the verb. That sentence is said to be in active voice. Let's read. Please listen carefully. Active voice. It is called active because here the verb suggests action and here the subject of the sentence, whether a person or a thing is involved in an action. In active voice, the subject of the verb is the doer of the action and thus it is active. For example, if you see the sentences given below, the porter carried the luggage. The porter carried the luggage. And second, the hen laid eggs. Here, the subject of the sentence is porter and hen, and the action has been done by the porter and hen. Subject of the verb is the doer of the action. Porter is carrying the luggage and hen is laying the eggs. So this sentence is said to be in the active voice. Read some more examples. The gardener waters the plant. The tigress ticked its club, licked its club. I help my friends. Somebody picked my pocket. So here the gardener, tigress, I and somebody. They are the doer of action. Gardener is watering the plant. Tigress is licking its cub. I help my friends, and somebody picked my pocket. So here the subject of the verb is the doer of the action. So the sentence is said to be in active voice. Passive voice. Passive voice is called passive because the person or thing denoted by the subject is not at all active. Subject of the verb is not the doer of action, it is the receiver of action. So the subject denoted by the person or thing denoted by the subject is not at all active but passive. It is not involved in action, but action is done to it. So, in other words, it is acted upon. So, in that case, the sentence is said to be in the passive voice. I hope the difference between active and passive voice is clear to everyone. That in active voice, subject of the verb is the doer of the action, whereas in passive voice, subject is not at all active, rather, action has been done upon the subject, or you, in other words, it is acted upon. For example, my father was hugged by my grandfather. The snake was tamed by the snake charmer. Here the subject is my father and snake. Now both of the subjects are not at all active, rather action of hugging by grandfather is done to my father. And second, the snake was tamed by the snake charmer. So in these sentences, subjects are my father and the snake. None of them is active. They are merely the receiver of action done by others, that is grandfather and by the snake charmer. So hence these actions or verbs are in the passive voice. Read some more examples. The plants are watered by the gardener. The cub was licked by the tigress. My friends were helped by me. My pocket was picked by somebody. So a verb is said to be in the passive voice when the subject of the verb is not at all active, but it receives the action done by someone or something. Okay, so I hope active and passive voice is clear to you. Verb is said to be in the active voice when the subject is the doer of the action, and verb is said to be in the passive voice when subject is not at all active, rather action has been done on it by someone or something. Now if you see this sentences, you will see that the gardener watered the plant. The tigress licked its cub. I helped my friends. Somebody picked my pocket. Now here, plants, cub, friends and pocket. These are the object of the sentence. These are the object. That means these are the sentences which require an object to complete the meaning of sentence. That means here the verbs are transitive verbs: water, licked, help and picked. These are the transitive verbs which require an object to complete its meaning. So only transitive verbs can be used in both active and passive constructions. Intransitive and linking verbs, they cannot be used in passive because they have no objects that could act as the subject of verb in the passive voice. I'll tell you, when we will do the conversion of active to passive, the subject of the active will become the object and object will become the subject. So that means we need an object that will become the subject of the passive voice. So intransitive and linking verbs, they don't have the object. So active and passive construction is not possible in intransitive and linking verbs. The sentences that contain intransitive verbs and in linking verbs, in those sentences active and passive construction is not possible. So that's why it is said that transitive verbs only take part in, they are only used in both active and passive constructions. Let's see the example, then it will be more clear to you. You see the sentence, Sheila writes a letter. Now Sheila is the subject, writes is the verb and a letter is the object. Now, if you do the conversion of active to passive, Sheila writes a letter. This is an active sentence because Sheila is writing a letter. Here, the subject is the doer of action. So, if you want to convert this active sentence to passive voice, how will you convert? A letter is written by Sheila. A letter is written by Sheila. Note this point that letter becomes the subject, verb will remain same, writes will be written as is written, and Sheila becomes the object. Clearly, it is visible. Now, we need an object in active sentence that will become the subject in passive voice when we will do the conversion of active to passive. So, this is how these points prove here correct that only transitive verbs can be used in both active and passive constructions. So I hope up till here the concept of active and passive voice is clear to everyone. The difference between active and passive voice. Verb is said to be in active voice when the subject of the verb is doer of action, and a verb is said to be in the passive voice when the subject is not at all active, rather action has been done on someone or by something. Got it? Next, we studied only transitive verbs. They can be used in active and passive constructions. Intransitive and linking verbs are not used in active and passive constructions. Okay, next I will tell you about the conversion of active to passive voice. You have observed that the object of the verb in active voice becomes the subject of the verb in the passive voice. A letter is the object in the active voice, it becomes the subject in the passive voice. Clear? Second, the subject in the active voice becomes the object of the verb in the passive voice, followed by the preposition by used before it. That is, a letter is written by Sheila. Now, subject will become the object of the passive voice and it is followed by the preposition used before it, that is, by Sheila. It is written as by Sheila. Next is, usually in the passive voice, we always use third form of the verb. Now in the active voice, verb is writes. Verb is writes. But in the passive voice, always we use third form of the verb. Writes will become written. So, a letter is written by Sheila. I hope this much concept is clear to everyone. Next, see the second point. Sometimes we may have personal pronouns I, we, she, me, her as a subject or as an object in a sentence. While changing the voice from active to passive, we have to handle the pronoun very carefully. For example, if it is I shall help her, will be written as she will be helped by me. I will be, if you see the table given below, from active to passive voice, I is changed into me, we is changed into us, you will remain you, he is changed into him, she is changed into her, they is changed into them. This is for active to passive conversion. I shall help her, she will be helped by me. I is changed to me and her is changed to She. She gave me a book. A book was given to me by her. She is changed into her. Or you can say, I was given a book by her. This is the passive voice. So, this is you need to remember very carefully in case of pronouns. I will be changed to me, we will be changed to us, you will remain you, he will become him, she will become her, and they will become them. Now, if it is vice versa, if you want to convert passive voice to active, in that case, me will be changed to I, us will be changed to we, you will remain you, him will be he, her will be she, and them will be changed to they. These are the points we have to keep in mind while conversion of active to passive voice. Then the active third point is very important. Sometimes the active verb is followed by preposition. This preposition is retained while changing the verb from active to passive voice. Now, if the verb contains some preposition, it will retain as it is. You see, a nurse look after a patient. A nurse look after a patient. After is the preposition here. Now this will retain as it is in the sentence while conversion to active to passive voice. A patient is looked after by a nurse. So you see, a nurse look after a patient. Nurse is looking after a patient. Subject is doing some action. So this sentence is in the active voice. If you want to make it negative, it will be written as a patient is looked after by a nurse. So the point is, if the verb consists of preposition, it will retain along with the verb when you convert active voice to passive voice. So I hope these 3 points are clear to you, that if there is personal pronoun, we have to handle it very carefully while conversion of active to passive voice. I will be changed to me, he, him, she, her, they, them. You will remain you, we will be changed to us. And if the case is vice versa, that is, if you are converting from passive to active, the conversion will be also vice versa. Next, we discussed if the verb consists of a preposition, it will retain in the sentence with the verb. Next is, if the subject in the active sentence is not very important, it is not necessary to mention it when we express the sentence in passive voice. For example, somebody stole my diamond ring. It is in the active voice. Now in the passive voice, now the subject is not important, so it is not necessary to mention it. So the sentence will be written in the passive voice as my diamond ring was stolen. Next, if the interrogative sentence is changed into passive voice, it will remain in its interrogative form. Does this hurt you? Or are you hurt by this? It will remain in the interrogative form. Why did he insult us? Why were we insulted by him? Next, if the sentence is negative and it is being converted into passive voice, it will also retain in its negative form. I do not like her. Now her will become she. She is not liked by me. John did not take a photograph. A photograph was not taken by John. So I hope the conversions important points are clear to you. With this, I would like to end today's class. Revise all the points we discussed today. What we discussed in 4th, 5th and 6th, we discussed that if the sentence is in the interrogative form and negative form, while conversion to passive form, passive voice, it will retain in its interrogative and negative form. And if the subject is not important, it is not necessary to mention the subject in the passive voice. So these are the points which you have to remember while the conversion of active to passive voice. In the next class, I will tell you the rules, that what is the role of tenses in the conversion of active to passive voice. I'll teach you how to convert active voice to passive voice and passive voice to active voice, keeping the concept of tenses in your mind. So that's all for today. Just go through the points and do the worksheet related given to you related to the topic discussed today. In that worksheet, you have to identify whether the sentence is an active voice or passive voice. That's it. That worksheet you have to do it in your fair notebook. Thank you and have a nice day.